gonna meet my destiny now.
Thank you very much. Oh, that's great. How are you doing? See, we got a special gathering on Friday with Alex and I. Talk about this summer's gathering. On Glastonbury, right?
We got this one.
Back.
Try and get down there. So and it's smoking.
I like your shirt. You are enough. Dear person behind me, the world is a better place. Very kind. That's very kind, yeah. Don't trust NASA though. Don't trust the government. We need each other. Not the government. We need to get together. Come chat. I don't have to film you. Come chat. I'll film myself. Yeah? I'm up for a discussion, but I'll film myself. Yeah, I'm filming me. Yeah, I don't need to film you. But I want to have a conversation. I have no fear of it. You should have no fear of it. She's walking away. She's walking away, he's walking away. Earth is flat, you guys.
Hello.
Did you know that? Hi.
What's that?
Earth is flat, not a spinning globe in space. The
Earth's
whole
flat?
thing- The vacuum of space is
There's
made up.
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
Yeah, Earth's flat.
they've never tested a spacesuit in a vacuum chamber.
yeah.
If you took those zips into space, what would happen in a vacuum chamber? The vacuum would suck all the air through the zip, right? They
Yeah.
used zips in the 1960s, moon landing and stuff. They used zips. Their boots look like they put on like by gum boots, you know, like Wellingtons that you put over your trousers. They just look like that. But when they tested a man in a vacuum chamber in
Do
1960s,
you have a YouTube channel?
yeah,
You do? Is that what you're
on
doing right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on it right now. You've got a camera?
streaming, yeah.
You're streaming right now. How many viewers you got? Can I see?
I've just started the stream. There's only 6 watching.
Oh, was that the old tickers or what?
Huh?
Was that on TikTok?
No, YouTube.
What's your channel called?
Trinity 4.
Trinity 4?
Yeah, they took my last one away. I had a bigger channel, but they took it away because I was talking too much about
Government.
COVID.
Government took it away.
Well, we know that there are algorithms that
Right.
stop. Let me give you a flyer.
Sorry, mate.
Let me give you a flyer. You can have a look if you like.
Yeah. Well, I'll look at your YouTube
Oh
channel.
my. Take that. Take that. Research electromagnetic flat Earth,
Yeah.
because the Earth cannot be proven to be a ball, and water will always find levels.
I'll
when
take
it
one
rests.
out.
Will you
Make it
take
nice and easy. Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Got it. Right, okay.
Cheers, mate.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye, mate.
Cheers. You want a flyer?
Yeah.
You can have a flyer.
Come on, we have time. Thank you.
This one's got a heart on the back and the outside.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
look.
It's
Bye.
got a heart in there.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We will read. Yeah. Yeah, looks interesting.
Everything I put you on.
Interesting stuff, yeah.
Pardon
Who
me?
knows anything?
Who?
Who knows
Who knows
anything?
it? Well, you know a lot more than we're told. When we're in school, they make you think you're dumb because you can't understand how a globe would
Conditioning,
work.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Go for, keep going with it. It's like,
And while you're 7 years old and teacher says, listen, Johnny, don't be silly. Of course it's a globe. Of course you're just insignificant and you're too small to notice that the earth is spinning. They'll tell you all of that. And then somehow at that age, it imprints kind of an idea of smallness and insignificance, and that you have to listen to authority because they can see stuff that you cannot. But what if you are the authority? And you should only trust what you can see and you can test for yourself. And guess what? 10 years ago, I decided to test whether water is curving, and I found no, there is no curvature over water.
so no globe. What shape?
No globe. What a shame, but it puts us at the
Has
center
it
of the
got a
universe.
shape?
Well, yeah, I would say that it's probably like, okay, so let's just imagine that I was to
Was
shrink.
that you?
Yeah, that's me. If I was to shrink the Earth down into like a size of an apple, yeah, because you know a globe, they'll give you a globe which is a ball, but I'm also going to give you a ball, but like I'm going to take you to an apple and say, what if you were to cut the apple open in the center, yeah, and right in the center, at the core of the apple where the seeds are,
Yeah.
that's where we are, and the rest of the world, the universe and everything is around us. So right on the center, the tiny little place we call Earth, obviously you've got one sea level taken off Newland down in Cornwall. We have one sea level, and everything else that's rocks that's above that sea level we call 100 meters, 200 feet, whatever, above sea level, yeah?
Yeah.
That's all we have. In terms of the apple now, from the core where we are, the seeds, we have water all around us. Some of it's thin and we call it air, some of it's heavy, we call it sea.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we have a skin, which is the apple skin that we cannot escape from. We're inside of the apple.
Yeah.
And then they tell you that they can get outside and fly for thousands or millions of miles, all that shit. They cannot. The highest we can get up is about 100 miles. So the apple that we're in seems to have a roof above it. And of course all the old Bible people, the Mayans, the Incas, the Egyptians, they all said the same thing. We live inside a container with a roof, a cave if you like.
Yeah.
And we're in a cave with a sun
In
that
a
comes
bubble.
around. In a bubble.
Yeah.
In the yellow submarine maybe, but we live inside of this bubble, which may be in water. The Bible people say it's in water, that God separated water from water and all that.
Yeah.
And then we live,
Apparently, allegedly, yeah. Interesting subject.
and so I 10 years ago I believed all of like new moon and stuff, and then I found out that there's a formula for the curvature over water, and when you apply that formula to your own observations, you'll go, but hang on, I can see 10 and 20 miles away. You're telling me that it's already gone down, yet I can see the whole building over there at 20 miles on a clear day, maybe with the sun behind it, the world record photo, where the sun behind it is 250 miles. And you can see this whole island from 250 miles away. Impossible on the globe, according to the maths. According to the maths, 8 inches per mile squared, they say. 8 inches per mile squared of curvature doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. The further we can see, we can still see. We take a powerful camera, now we can see further.
Yeah, definitely something in it.
I'll give you a flyer to take home, my friend. We're electromagnetic beings in an electromagnetic universe. God is inside of you, not in the church or whatever.
Yeah.
None of that.
I've learned all that. Nice one. Take care, yeah?
Cheers, brother.
With my soul. Oh, yeah. One, two. Stay calm. Hear the trace of darkness on your own. Feel it. The message is so big, follow me, and you'll never lose your way. Nah, nah, war seasons will always change. What remains become a blessing to my soul. Send a message deep inside my heart. I got to get back inside. I got to keep on going on.
If you wouldn't mind hitting the like as you're watching this, that would be nice. Hi guys, Earth is flat, not a spinning ball in space. Earth is flat, mate. Earth is flat, bro. Earth is flat, not a spinning rock in space. Space is fake. It has been faked to give you a new religion. Earth is flat, not a spinning rock in space. They never went to the moon. International Space Station is done in a swimming pool. That's why we see bubbles in space.
Spirit of woman, I said we need your grace. Spirit of woman, human race. Yeah, spirit of woman, Can we come together right now? We need your light. Cause I can feel the rhythm call now. Oh, spirit up, we need your light. That's a world feels better. Yeah.
Put this up. You know that was a scam, right? You think they went to the moon? They landed on the moon? No, they didn't land on the moon. You know why? Because they can't. It's not about the Russians. You can't get out of the world.
Yes,
It's flat. Another banner I want to put up.
Can we come together right now? We need your light now.
Earth is flat. Earth is spinning ball in space. Try not to indoctrinate the young. Dinosaurs are fake.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Good day, sir.
What are you selling?
Pardon me?
What are you selling here?
Oh, I'm not selling anything. I'm giving information.
Oh, yeah, it's a free
Information
gift.
is the
Okay.
key to our freedom, right? Knowledge power.
It's one of the things that makes us successful as a species. Yes.
Species. That sounds like you suggest you believe Darwin.
No, don't know anything about Darwin.
No. His grandfather was a eugenicist, and I think the whole evolution thing, we come from monkeys, is designed to diminish God's creation.
Yes, and so this document is
Well,
a
my-
representation of the logic.
Well, this here information is to do with trying to understand the level of deception that controls our world. So right from the very youngest thoughts that you had, you were starting to be interfered with. And one of the best examples of that is this idea that we live on a globe. When you're very young, you go to school and the teacher tells you that you can't see that you live on a globe, you just have to believe that you live on a globe. You can't sense that the earth is spinning, you just have to believe that the earth is spinning, and doing all these wonderful things in order to create the seasons and time zones and all these sorts of things.
Yes, well, yes. Is this from personal observation?
Yes.
Oh, I see. So you came to this conclusion, and then this is a result of your research.
Well, I mean, previous people, back in the 1800s, there were a lot of eminent scientists who were suggesting, and they did the Bedford-Evans experiments, for example, and other things like Airy's failure, it's called Airy's failure, where they tried to establish whether there was any curvature over water, and they failed. And so that science was buried. And now I've gone out to try and measure whether there is any curvature, and I found that there is none.
Okay.
You know, that even though my lake is level, and people tell me that once the lake
Yes.
gets 100 miles long, it'll curve.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We've got hundreds of miles long lakes that
Yes.
freeze over
Yes.
in the winter, and they turn them into ice rinks that are perfectly level.
Yes. It's just that it came to me, but I still can't remember. It was one of those little quibs that you hear on a film or
Yeah.
read in a book or
Yeah.
something like that, and it says somebody's observations were being questioned, and so this chap jumped in and said, "You're not one of these people that think the Earth is round, are you?"
Wow, yeah, it's one
It
of
was
those
very
things
good.
that we were
I
taught
can't remember the name. I must move on.
to mock. But science is a systematic study of structure and behavior, which requires observation first, observation and testing, i.e. measurement
I know. I've
of
done
the
all
theory.
that. Yes, I've done all that.
And
I
so
found it,
Einstein, when pressed, said, listen, we can't prove that the Earth is spinning. And now we can take a powerful zoom camera and look at things at 20 and 30 miles away that we're not meant to be able to see according to the curvature. It's not
stopped
bad.
much too early in your logic. You've only got about an inch in something which is 100 yards long. For goodness sake, I would suggest to you that you took a very short but intense course in Tai Chi with a good teacher.
With IT?
Tai Chi.
Oh, Tai Chi. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
Well,
But
then
you
you'll
also
be able
find
to
that
feel. Then you'll be able to feel through your feet
Yeah,
what's going on.
the Earth isn't moving. And if you believe that, it's because you've been brainwashed.
I'm sorry, I do have to walk on. I can't stand for long.
All right, have a good day. All the best. All right, don't fall off the ball. Yes. I've got a little banner here, which I think will go up nicely over here. Just give me a moment, will you? Oh. No. That'll do. Just a little off. Have you looked into the flat Earth theory? Have you? Yeah, well done. Well, the thing is, we can't prove that it's a ball, right? We can't prove that it's a spinning rock in space. We can't even prove space is real. You know, it's thermodynamics. The idea that we've got no holding everything down and the air doesn't go, no, the helium blue goes up, the air somehow stops at miles up there, and the propagation of radar and I don't know if you guys have followed any of that stuff that's happening in Iran at the moment, but all the time in Iran I hear, the Iranians have taken out like a satellite dish or one of those mobile, relay radar stations. And I think to myself, if these guys believe their own crap about having satellites in space, why should they even care that they're losing a few radar installations? Why should they even be putting them on the ground where they can be smashed? Why not just have them floating up above Iran at 200 miles where no one can touch them? None of that stuff is real. They've never put a man in a spacesuit, in a vacuum chamber. Now, if you're going into a vacuum of space, right, you've got to test that damn suit well to make sure it works. And yet we see them in the pool every time. And it's how hard would it be to put a blue screen behind that and say, right, now they're in space. Then you catch them out with the flap that they use, the airlock flap looks like it's a material thing. It's meant to be keeping out the vacuum of space, right? You know, none of these things actually make sense when you really start to kind of pick them apart, you know. And then people always say, well, then how do you explain season? How do you explain night and day and all these sorts of things if the Earth is flat? Because, you know, logically, I think I've got Wembley Stadium and I've got the biggest ass light that's bigger than Wembley Stadium. The whole of the Wembley Stadium has to be flooded. I say, no, what if it's a small light like the one you see in the sky and it's only illuminating some of the Earth at any given time? It tracks around and every 24 hours it comes back. Same as the moon, and she doesn't have like any kind of reflective when you look into how light that moon is and how much reflection there would need to be on the moon in order to come back 250,000 miles all the way to us and brighten up the whole sky, how does that work? When they landed on the moon, it looked like they were on a cement, in a dark room rather than like on the brightest thing that we could ever imagine. So there's none of the stuff makes sense when you really start to pick. But beyond that, because I looked at it 7 years ago and I the globe system, right? It took me beyond whether the Earth is flat or globe. Things we can't ever prove. And hey, Four Jacks, how are you doing, bro? Yeah, truth it is. Yeah, truth it is, sister. Truth it is. Yeah, the technology is playing up a little bit. Nice to see you guys. I'm in Glastonbury. Thanks for coming. We've got some exciting news coming up on our Friday We Gather. We're doing a special. It'll be our first of the year. We've got Alex Michael dropping in as special guest. To talk about our plan for the gathering in Spain in September. In fact, Friday will be 6 months since the 2025 gathering and 6 months until the 2026 gathering. This is the Glastonbury High Street. This is the Glastonbury High Street. The weather's a little bit. The weather's a little bit not on my side. A little bit grey. So we're not going to get the huge footfall. I had responsibilities, yes, I had to take care of, which is why I didn't get out while it was sunny. Unfortunately, Earth is flat. Earth is flat. Earth is flat, bro. Huh? Earth is flat. Earth is not a globe. The globe is the devil's work. The flat Earth is created by God. Peace, brother.
Bloody disgrace.
It's flat, not a spinning rock in space.
I did find that one challenging.
Yeah, keep working on it. Water's level. Just test the water curvature.
It's such a strange, but it means the entire every picture image we've ever seen of space is obvious. How do we explain all of that?
That's easy to explain because none of you and I have never. I've been to the Grand Canyon. I can show you pictures.
I've been to the Grand Canyon.
Exactly. So I say. You've got your own pictures, I got my pictures, and I've been personally able to experience
so every
that.
picture we've ever seen, all of those, how do you, if you look through a telescope in Argentina at the stars, or even if how do you explain the stars?
Well, I've been explaining some of that. We've looked at the stars with powerful cameras as well.
Good to see you wearing Vivos, young man.
Thanks.
I'm their head coach.
I struggle a little bit with water getting into these ones.
I'm afraid they're a little bit older.
Well,
that's the trouble.
I know they've improved the later ones.
Yes, and part of the trouble, don't get me wrong, it is challenging, but the flexibility of them means that to have a waterproof boot for more than like a year, if people wear them a lot, is tough because of the stitching on the inside.
Yeah, mine went here within about 3 months.
Well, yeah, I mean, they should do 6 months.
The guy lives in Castle Carey who came up with this, right? He's
Galahad.
I don't know him, but I know
Mr. Clark. I was with him on Friday in Barleywood. We have a lovely London head office, and we have one just near south of Bristol as well. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Well, these are my 7-year-old wears his as well. My niggle, his are brand new. He's had a few now because the feet grow quickly. And he's got the Velcro thing, and the Velcro.
There was a problem with some of the Velcro ones. Yeah. We should have sorted you out with that because it was a fault. You can return them and get new ones.
Well, I don't need a new one, but I will definitely.
Well, you
take
can
up your
for
advice.
sure. If anything, Galahad stands by, it's putting his product where his mouth is, and that means sometimes we give people fresh pairs.
Yeah.
When they. It's challenging to make things. We've got grounded ones these days as well.
I see that. Yeah,
they're very nice. These aren't, but the grounded ones are. The sensors are beautiful, beautiful thing.
Now you might find it interesting because NASA. You might find this interesting.
Interesting. NASA is Disney for adults. It is interesting.
Believe me, I believed all of it.
Yeah.
Up until 12 years ago, I was like, and then the curvature. Okay. Hang on. standing by you one night and look far up the coast, you know. Like, well, there's no curvature there. And now I found out that the world record photographed 250 miles across water. And, you know, we're not meant to be able to see things so far away. People tell us that the ship has gone over the horizon at 5-10 miles, right? And yet the American military are pinging with lasers ships at 100 miles in order to shoot at them, like line of sight.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense.
So that,
no,
you know,
I mean,
there's
I
so
agree.
many elements of the water
Look,
thing.
listen, some of the people who I trust most for truth and wisdom are on this. So, you know,
And the thing for me,
that's fascinating. I mean, what's the point of when you have now scientists, repeatable, observable, measurable? Pseudoscience isn't necessary. But,
it doesn't
you
need
know,
to be, yeah. Like
no,
Neil
but-
deGrasse Tyson, because they're all theorists, right? So they can theorize about anything. In fact, this is what Einstein did. He said, well, if globe going around the sun, because he had to come up with this, how is the globe going around the sun? Because with the Newton's apple on the head didn't address, you know, how things, so he came up with time and space, right? But now time and space dilation. So he's able to kind of theorize, if this, then it must be that.
Indeed.
because
And so it's all
smart-
built on a construct.
Yeah. And he himself
And I
said-
don't disagree. Of
Yeah.
course it is.
He says
Right.
himself, look, we don't know, we can't measure whether the Earth is moving or it's the sky that's moving. You know? And so for me, it's like I go to the disco, I see the lights moving in the sky, in the roof. I'm like, the floor's not moving, bro. The floor's not moving. It's the lights in the sky that are moving. Now, your question about the lights is interesting.
Yeah, go on.
So I went to look at like slowed down video footage of the lights, and you'll find that every star has danced and all the cymatics.
I did.
Yeah. So you understand cymatics, and if I can show you Capella, Mars, Venus, flickering at its own frequency.
Yeah. Okay.
And you're seeing these same cymatic shapes coming up on this on
then-
each of them individually, like separate, like
Yeah,
they're all
yeah.
separate noise. They've got a separate light, like Mars is red, Capella's white, and you see rainbow colored ones as well. And like, wow, this is like water on the bottom when the sun shines on.
But
the
what
swimming
is it we're
pool.
looking at there? That's what I want to ask. What is it we're
Well,
seeing?
now obviously we're going into theory here, and if you
Okay.
believe in grounding,
Yeah.
as you really do, then
I've
you might
studied it for
understand that we
over
are,
a decade. Well, long time, yeah.
Okay, so we are electromagnetic beings,
Absolutely.
and we live inside an electromagnetic universe, not a material universe.
100%.
So that means that the atom, this little tiny stone with electrons and so on, has to be revisited. Okay?
It's a sound wave of
Yeah, everything.
infinite potential. Is what it is, not anything physical whatsoever.
No. Which is why even the quantum physics, and you know, when you study the science stuff at the deeper level, they go, well, we think that the electron's going to be here somewhere. I'm like, you're describing a torus. Actually, what they're describing, when I look at it, I'm like, that is a torus.
Yeah.
And you, so you are the micro within the macro system. And the only other torus I can show you on Earth is like an apple, an orange, a pear, not maybe, but like a pumpkin. All of these things are toroidal in shape, and they have a core where the life comes from, the seed comes from. Well, I believe that the seed is here. We are the core, and the rest of the apple, the rest of the fruit, the electromagnetic fruit is around us. So we're inside a ball, perhaps, an electromagnetic ball, but not on the outside of it. The fruit must be contained within its skin, and the seed contained within the skin of that. So at the core of the apple, when I cut it down through the center, right, I found the only hard bit of it is the seed. Everything else is moisture. Everything else is water. And that's true for my world as well. I've got seed that I'm standing on. I've got light water above me and heavy water below me.
Yeah.
So am I not? And then of course ancient cultures, Mayans, Incas, Egyptians, they all said we're in a bubble. We're in a cave. We're in a container. Thermodynamics demands that if we have a pressure system, we must contain it. Deodorant, fire, whatever. It must be contained. Otherwise, you lose pressure instantly. Equalization. Well, we say that there must be a container here, and we have some evidence that suggests that be true even in modern times. You know, Red Bull shot a rocket up, and it kind of hit about 100 miles and stopped, and then just silence. We think that there's a superfluid that is super cold and impenetrable to man's equipment, but they've been trying to get us out. There was an operation called Fishbowl in the 1950s.
Jesus Christ.
They try to smash
again,
into
like-
it in the 1950s.
Sorry to
Go-
go
no,
back
go.
to sort of horizontal Earth basics, but how long does it go on for if it's flat then?
Well, I mean, if
Cyrus.
I ask, if my
'Cause,
child,
you know,
if my
it's an
child,
interesting question, isn't it?
I raise my older children to
All right, guys.
believe in the globe, right? And I would say to them, they would say, well, how big is the universe? Well, it's 14 billion light years. That's a number that I was told, and I will never be able to test. So that's just like, that's the, the God of the gaps. That's like dark matter. It
it's
makes
a
up
pointless-
99% of the
just a
universe.
pointless
And so
excuse.
we don't know what 99% is, and yet when the flat earther gets asked, I was like, you have to know exactly what it is, otherwise I'm not willing to look at anything else.
Sure, mate. I'm not
So
trying to poke holes. I'm just looking for interesting.
I will offer you that.
Yeah.
Some people suggest that it's an infinite plane, west and east. I'm not sure about that. Like a wall map, west and east. You can just keep traveling. I don't know about that. I do like I said, a torus. So for me, the torus is a round thing. The researchers have suggested that there's other continents beyond the 5 or 7 that we're allowed to visit. There's some tantalizing evidence of that, and suggestion that even extraterra or extraterrestrials come from lands beyond the little prison that we're kept in. So I keep that on the table, but I obviously
wild,
cannot
dude.
prove that.
It's absolutely wild. And again, I'm sure you've read of. I'm trying to think of the name of the book. It's the guy that goes to the Arctic.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
You mean Admiral Byrd?
Yes.
Richard Byrd.
Well, this Byrd, this Byrd was the.
He was the military guy.
The American
Navy
military guy,
yeah.
but there's also like a Scandinavian fisherman sort of story. Yeah.
On a wooden boat.
Yes.
Yeah. This is,
and they go deep. They carry on going towards the Arctic, but then end up traveling all the way in and spend a lot of time inside with a bunch of giants and inside what is the Earth?
Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that talk about that. But I tell you, when we look at
just all fascinating.
When we look around at the architecture in the world, and when we take off the lens that was given to us by school, we find that we're asking ourselves questions about, wow, giant people build some of these structures.
Oh, dude, I'm 100% believe in giants. The only people who don't believe in giants haven't investigated
Yeah.
giants. Like Matthew Newman, who holds the Themania conference here every year.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote a book on giants, and I mean, they found documented evidence of over 1,000 reports, bona fide reports in newspapers from prominent people at the times from 1850 to the early 20th century in America, over 1,000 reports of giant skeletons being found. So again, like, that is true.
Yeah.
So
and that's even, I don't know about you, but I've seen sort of the 12-foot and 15-foot kind of suggestion, but even bigger than that.
Yeah, they go 20, 30.
Yeah. And what we call dinosaur bones today, if they're real and not faked ones, then we suggest that they might have been because the animals were also much larger at that time. Mainstream science accepts that there was a 10% more oxygen in the air if you go back 1,000 years or a few thousand years.
Interesting.
We wonder whether we haven't been. The Noah flood story is only about 500 or 600 years old, and that everything that we understand about our history, it has prior to that has
500
been sort of,
years old. Middle Ages.
Yeah.
See, that's an interesting concept, that one.
Yeah. And that everything, or after that time, the people who are building tiny homes. They're building very insignificant structures from.
I mean, saying that, there are structures that are older than that, though.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, you know
I was
what?
at Wales yesterday. 700 years old, that thing, right?
I know.
Horse and cart tech does not build things like that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And then that's the wildness.
Love to.
Lovely.
Dave.
Dave, nice one, Dave.
Oh,
Make
Dave.
sure you get. My email's just ben@vivobarefoot.com. You can't forget that.
I'll
so
send you a flyer.
Send me a message.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
Lovely to talk to
meet
you, man.
Enjoy.
Well,
Good luck.
Cheers. I don't know if you guys have actually seen this. Did you see that? This says orientation of the optical. It's really playing up in here. This is rather frustrating. Oh no, I just made a contact with Beaver Barefoot. Earth is flat! We recommend Beaver Barefoot. It's not the only barefoot shoe, and as I said, I have had 1 or 2 problems with mine, but they're really comfortable, and I prefer not to have to wear anything else. Is this? Are you guys actually
Nice to see you. You know, I haven't seen you since like mid.
So if I do that, do you see? Now I've had to turn my phone up in order to kind of sideways. We need a full-length interview from this man. I'm enjoying y'all's conversation. Hi, Ryan Boston. I'm glad you actually caught that conversation, but my phone is saying orientation locked. Are you still getting a decent picture? Because I don't mind that it's grayed my thing out, but if you aren't getting a good picture, then I will go back and is it Ben? I will talk to him and maybe we can have a conversation. He also knows it as well. On Friday, which will be 6 months. It will be the equinox. The winter is swiftly moving beyond us, and for us in the further out regions of the plain. Did you think it was better without the S? Disney is NASA is Disney for adult. Yeah. You know that most of the stuff that NASA give us, you can break it down and it's CGI. People who are really good at computer stuff, they'll be like, this is clearly CGI, you know, what they're offering to us. If I've gone up the tour and I've taken some pictures, you'll know they're real. I don't need to fake them, right? Because you could go up and test for yourself, see whether they're real or not. If I couldn't get up the tour, I might come up to I might ask AI to put me up on the tour and say, look, I was up there, right?
Yes.
Exactly. But you know, why would you trust that they were really on the moon? Only government people. You can't test that. You know, the people who give us COVID, the people who give us Donald Trump, the people who give us Tony Blair and all this stuff. Earth is flat, a spinning rock in space. And of course, when you're that age, the Earth is spinning. It's you're like spinning. Listen, you want to pass the class, Johnny? You say it's spinning. You can pass the class. And the ones who are best at saying, yes, miss, I know what you're saying, I'll pass the class, they become the scientists. And now, these super nerds, everyone's listening to and saying, they're right. You know, like, no, you were just the most obedient servant in class. And now I'm meant to believe you, just like the religious people back here. Oh, well, they're the most obedient servant in class. So I believe them. It's flat, not a spinning rock in space. Water will always find level, right? Water always finds level. If we had to put a bucket down, you'd find the water was perfectly parallel or horizontal, like this. Same as your cup.
As well.
Yeah, YouTube.
Sick.
YouTube.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good, man. I'm here to engage them, and I think, you know, when we've been given this sort of indoctrination from when we're young, you know, if I was born up in a household, or you've been born up in a Muslim household or a household, where, you know, you're more likely to espouse that belief system now. Same with the globe, you know. All our parents believed the moon because they saw it on black and white TV.
Well, there you go.
Because they saw it on TV.
That's for the times. We had 1, 2 channels. BBC 1 and BBC 2. Yeah, nice to meet you, chap.
Well, likewise, BBC, by the way, is military industrial complex. Yeah, sorry, like you see BBC when you are young, because so you would trust them, the children's BBC. But it's all mind control. Yeah, not saying some of the stuff they report on, but it's all based in this kind of lie that we are insignificant rather than the center of creation.
Yeah.
That's right there, John. Don't follow there. There you go. Have a good day, man.
Thanks,
Are you able to see this? I don't know. Yeah. Hello, mate. How are you? Pardon me? Did you I've
Caught me
out
out.
with evidence, right? This is real world evidence, nothing that you can't test for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
We say that gravity isn't real, and it's really just displacement. In a liquid or a gas, things will displace depending on their weight in that medium. Can they support themselves like a football in a swimming pool, or can it not, and it's going to rise like a helium balloon?
Yeah.
You know, in the atmosphere. So gravity is required for our world to work. Gravity is only required for us to be able to walk underneath the ball and for water not to fall off the ball. But in reality, water will not stay in this cup. It'll stay in this cup, yeah. It'll stay in this cup, although it will be like, it'll have this parallel positioning, yeah. Everything, this experiment is done, you probably did this at school, you know, and where you can create a single level with disconnected at different height things, so long as the water can reach itself. When we make high altitude observations, we find that everything looks super level, but we're told that when we're at the beach, we'll see a ship go over the horizon 3 or 4 miles. That doesn't make sense. Because this distance here, left to right, well, this is over 100 miles right here.
I mean, what is the theory that the Earth is actually much bigger than what we're told?
I like that too, but not as a ball, as a flat plate, yes. The extraterrestrials or extra terra is extra Earth that the likes of you and I are kept on. You know, they signed up the Antarctic Treaty in 1960, and they stopped all travel, whether you're a multi-billionaire, you without government control and permission, and then do there is very limited. You land on a beach, but you're not traveling very far. They're not going to allow you to travel very far. A famous American,
you get shut up.
A famous American who it was with the Navy there, an Admiral Richard Byrd. He spent 10 years exploring the Antarctic and came back after that, went on American TV and said, I've stood on land bigger than America, no man has ever seen. There are resources.
And the old Mercator maps prove that it wasn't always covered in ice, was it? As far back as the Middle Ages.
Yeah, they've mapped land that's accurate on those maps, right? That they can see beneath the ice. And there's older maps that seem to have covered Australia up. Like it was also at one point under ice. And when we arrived there, you know, the British and whatnot, we were arriving because the land had only recently been exposed again from what might be some sort of glaciation. You know, we have this theory that the Earth, the sun melts a pool, a little pond, and we're inside of that. But the sun is on a 26,000 year circuit. They call it the precession of the equinoxes. And this 26,000 year is like a spirograph wheel that doesn't always stay in the same circle. It's sort of slowly over time moving into other areas. So some areas will melt, whilst other areas will freeze back over for thousands of years and become habitable. And then eventually it becomes Newfoundland or New Zealand, you know, these places that become discovered. And yet, you know, back in Mercator's time and so on, they were mapping everything so accurately that we have to accept, I believe that they were seeing things and they were mapping things accurately. So if things weren't there to be seen...
Well, look how they've described the North Pole. You know, I mean, that's another thing, isn't it?
North Pole is a bit of a mystery. Greenland, they oversized Greenland apparently by 5 or 10 times. You know, the way they project it onto a globe, it makes no sense. Why would they do that? Well, because they stretch things and squash things and cut things. Sailors traveling from South Africa to South America used to complain about taking 10 days longer than they were meant to, given the distances that they were sailing. Well, it might be that the distances between Cape Town and South America are way further. And in fact, there's a flight you can take from Johannesburg to South America. It's 14 hours. Similar distance, well, actually 11 hours to London from Johannesburg, 14 hours to Australia, to South America. And yet, when you take a piece of string over the globe, you'll find that the string is shorter to South America than it is to London. So none of these things kind of add up. So yeah, I mean, in reality, what we're told is the sun is setting, but actually, and as often the distance are going to drop into a horizontal point. So if we can see far enough on the day, everything will just, the clouds, everything just touches the horizon. And then I've taken this from, you know, this is science basically, that we have continental plains. We have these like vast undersea abyssal plains, they call them. They lay the cables down on them and there's no problem. No, you know, go down a mile or whatever, but it's flat down there. There might be some ridges in the center between Africa, between Europe and America, but really the water's flat on top and there's no evidence of sort of globature, you know. I mean, in fact, this is 3,000, almost 3,000 miles across North America from New York to Los Angeles. And of course we're using a flat line. But if I took 1/8, that's about 1/8 of the way around the globe. If I took 1/8 of your wall clock, I cut out 1/8 of it, you would definitely see bend in there. You would take 1/8 of your clock, you would see bend in there. So no, water is my sort of go-to. It's not curving. The formula for curvature is 8 inches per mile squared on the globe. They never taught us that in school, because if they had, we would have gone to a lake, and this is a 5-mile lake, it should be, 30 inches or 500 inches or whatever it is of curvature in that distance. But I can see my mate Poe on the other beach. We would have killed the globe instantly if they'd given us time, When I heard it first, I was like, damn, I know I've seen much further than that.
Are you connected with the light paper?
Yes. Darren, Flat Earther, we met in 2017, 2018. The guy who started it, Darren Nesbitt.
I'm performing at the festival.
Oh,
in
yeah.
May.
Oh,
Well, I did last year. They've invited me. So.
listen, stand in the mud. Stand in the mud. The guy offered me a ticket the other day, but I just don't think I can get up there this time. So I would like to go. Yeah, I put a few, you can tell Darren, you saw me, I put a few of his out when I go out, So,
I'll give you a few lines.
yeah.
So you think you're an accident spinning through space while circling the sun at a dizzying pace, but that ain't how it is, folks. That's not the case. For those that have the eyes to see, the Earth is flat, stationary.
Nice one. You got me there. How you doing? Are you listening in?
Yeah, I just thought I would. You know what I did see?
Yeah.
I don't really have a strong opinion, but what I did see was someone trying to, disprove the flat Earth by basically they got a laser and they did the math to basically calculate what the curvature of the laser should be.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember exactly what it was now. So they had they set it up. They had a fact. I'm not sure what it was exactly.
Yeah.
You might know actually what the curvature should be over a certain distance.
Yeah.
And the other side. So they shone the laser. And they were like, oh well, if the Earth was flat, it should be like the laser should be exactly straight.
Yeah.
But there was some curve.
Okay.
I
think is this the Netflix documentary, perhaps?
I think it was just a YouTube video, but I'm sure people have done similar. I'm sure you've probably heard people saying that.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, well, the counter argument to that could be that doesn't gravity bend light? Like if you try to laser straight up into the sky, you will see like a powerful laser. You'll see it will bend.
Yeah. Have you heard of Snell's law? Snell's law is that one where you put a pencil in a glass of water.
Yeah.
And when you look at it from the outside of the glass, it kind of looks like the pencil's broken or it's bent like that. That's called Snell's law. And so what we know is that water will cause refraction.
Yeah.
It will cause a bending of the light. And our atmosphere is actually water. Very thin, much thicker water and much thicker air, or much heavier, more water in the closer you get to the sea or the closer you get to a water surface, or in different temperature situations. You can have a lot of moisture and that will cause more bending. If you're in a desert and it's super dry or whatever, you can get a pretty accurate laser shot. In the American military, of course, they have unlimited funds, right? And they've got a naval gun called the railgun. And they use a laser to point at a ship that's 100 miles away. Yeah. That's a lot further than that test that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And they can paint a ship, they call it painting, they paint a ship with the laser and then they fire the dart called the railgun. They fire this sort of electromagnetic sabot and they fire it for 100 miles. Right? Yeah. We know that a lighthouse can be seen for a record of about 50 miles. Yeah. So there are light sort of breaks down over time. We understand that, and there can be distortion. We also understand that. You know? But we are made to, when we're young, go, okay, my swimming pool and my bath are level, but once it gets to a certain size, I don't know exactly what that size is, it'll start to bend. And that's why they'll take you down to the beach and say, look, watch that ship for 10 minutes. You'll see the ship disappear over the horizon. Well, we can actually debunk that quite quickly because you go into a 5-story building that's directly behind you on the beach and you can see that ship again. And it still looks like it's on flat water, it hasn't gone over any bend. And there's actually, now that you're this high up, you can see a ship beyond the ship that you thought had already gone over the horizon. So this is what we start to make observations of. Now, people have taken the powerful cameras. In fact, the Guinness World Record photograph is 250 miles. 250 miles, according to the formula, is 3 miles over the hump. You're not seeing You know, that's like saying to my friend who's on the other side of the tour, you'd be like, no, you can't. Light is not bending over the other side of the tour. You would have to go over the tour to be able to see your friend, right? So me going up higher has not taken me over the tour height, and I'm like, oh, now I can see people that are lower and they're going up and over or whatever. That's not there.
Were you in South Africa? Okay, my granny lives in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. We live there and we're having to go back.
Oh.
How long have you been away?
I practically gave up my life here.
Okay. I was born here, but he's there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. My dad's just come back for then actually, 'cause we were only meant to be here for 5 years.
Yeah.
And now my parents are looking to retire, and my dad's like, okay, I want to go home
A
now.
lot of people saying that.
Yeah.
We've been trying to go back for years now. We put that all together.
Things are changing a little bit over there.
Things are changing a lot over here. You know, it's become for me less and less some of the advantages that England had over
You were saying that as well.
and you know, and I use trust in or the authority of the institutions, the royal, all that kind of thing. Then I wrote a book about my time in the Angolan War in 1987.
Yeah.
2 years service,
Description,
right?
yeah.
Dad the same.
Yeah.
So 2 years, and I did 3 months on the front line in Angola, and I ended up writing a book of it in 2012.
Yeah.
And when I wrote that information, that smashed my reality, and I started questioning things. And for 9/11, like that, I started looking at things and going, damn, I believed it all.
Yeah.
And then I came to the moon landings, and then I had a near-death experience in 2015, and I discovered that God is real, that we're carrying God within us, or something along those lines. And
It's
so,
not the God that they're
church,
showing us,
no,
but
no.
it's
There's
He's
something
within us
divine,
all. Yeah.
And but God doesn't create a spinning golden explosions. God creates a perfect body, both in yourself
Yeah.
and in the macroverse.
Yeah.
So the body that we're in is, if you like, the body of
It
God.
it is creation.
Yeah.
You know.
And
Yeah.
and it has to be. For me, you know, if I asked you to build me a car, you'd put it together bit by bit, beautifully, lovingly, engines, chassis, tire, blah blah blah. You're not going to go to a scrapyard and throw an explosive device in there and just hope a car is going to come out the other side.
Yeah.
And that's my analogy for this. We have to be designed. We are so
Yeah.
perfect,
Yeah.
and this world is so
1 trillion
perfect.
%.
But
Yeah.
we've been made to believe that climate change is real, and we have to.
I don't believe in that
Yeah,
either.
but it's being used as a weapon against us, just in the same way as
It's fear.
communism in South
Yeah.
Africa was a weapon, even though it's now kind of communist and it's same as this place. So many of the things that diminish who you are and who we are in this place and what our role here is are designed to, like religion, the education was given to us to minimize and segregate us, so we
Yeah.
never come together as God's children.
Yeah. To work together. You know. I mean, God
Well,
just.
no, so if I understand it correctly, that the Tower of Babel was man's greed or his intention to build a structure that could get out of here.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
and
right.
actually, I'm going to smash your plate, give you all the different languages so you don't
Languages.
understand each other.
Yeah.
It's an cool story. I'm not saying it's necessarily true, but I do think that what I see today is the negative, the Satan or the devil or whatever you want to call it, the opposition, if you like, the opponent, trying to smash its way out, trying to break out of here. You know, even Hillary Clinton said, you know, we're trying to break the highest ceiling, and they did Operation Fishbowl in the 1950s, right, where they took these nukes, big bombs, and they try to shoot the roof, and these plasma flashes on the roof, and people lighting up at the time, and that kind of thing. So I think that everything here is designed to diminish you as the center of creation, and it makes it much more easy for me to enslave you.
So did God design that then?
I allow for
See, now you get into mysticism, that's the Gnostic thing. It's like,
maybe.
sorry.
Well, maybe. Let me say, if I may, that I think that I don't want to have like a super negative approach, realizing that everything, the horrible stuff, is terrible stuff going on, and of course people and people poisoned, vaccines, and all the things that are done to damage you. Even at birth, vitamin K, stuff that's going to make it. All these sorts of tricks are being wrought upon. However, if you want to be the fittest version of yourself, you'll never get that way sitting on the sofa. I also want to understand that muscle needs to be tested. I ain't going to be tested. Just sitting my ass and going, oh, well, it's all the thing of the world. It takes fire to skill. And I believe that we are meant to be strengthening ourselves.
I think you give love anyway, regardless of whether, whether get all these trials or whatever. If you can come to it with love and understanding, rather than, feeling oppressed or feeling like a victim, that actually is what helps you evolve.
Yeah. Well, I'm absolutely quite right. And you're saying that, because for me, victimhood weakens me.
Yeah.
If I think that I'm a victim, then I'm weaker. Yeah. Which is why they want the universal basic income, right? They want everybody to be on handouts, because you know how weakening that is?
Yeah.
Someone else, even here, some of the people that are in the most desperate straits would rather fight to defend the government because it's the government that's keeping them fed and housed. You see that?
But
so
they're also keeping them in that cycle of
perpetual kind of enslavement or and the thing is, we saw it with COVID, right? They will, if you're on the benefits or you're on a thing, they'll go, well, in order to still receive this, you need to take this thing. And I really believe that there is an intention to retard our spiritual development to all these different needs. And the shape of the earth, the nature of the earth is this gateway truth for me to realizing who we truly are.
So let's say, in your view, so let's say, do you think it's principally impossible to go into space? Do you think it's principally impossible?
Principally impossible.
Okay, let's say if you could view the Earth from space.
I can't. So you've given me a hypothetical that I cannot test. We have to be able to test whatever you offer me. I have to be able to test it. And the thing is that you cannot test that a vacuum and a non-vacuum can exist by side without a fixed firm barrier. The vacuum without.
So,
we have to believe that gravity is somehow magically creating that firm barrier.
Yeah.
We also have to believe that this Earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour, and yet we cannot measure it, and we cannot see any evidence of that. So we have to believe that the column of air, because we've been doing it for millions of years, the column of air is just magically moving with the Earth as it spins.
You can't see the Earth itself, you can see the objects within it. So
some.
Yeah.
Look like a B-52 bomber, like a U-2 spy plane type height, 70,000. You cannot see anything. You might be able to see like the Great Wall of China from that height, and that's it. But people make claims that they can see the International Space Station from Earth. And it's like, do you know how small that is? When a plane is flying, 747 is at 6 miles, you can see it. When it's at 12 miles, you can barely see it, right? If it were to get to 12 miles.
But you can see satellites and stuff with it.
Do you know how big a satellite is? How big is that satellite?
Not as well. I'm assuming not as big, but I think it takes.
I'm very open-minded.
I just want to help people because I read all this stuff about satellites. Right? The satellite is typically about the size of a washing machine. It could be. There could be as large as a car. That would be a very large satellite. Okay? Now, when I'm in a plane, a 747 flying over Coburg or wherever, if I'm at cruising altitude, I cannot see cars. Yeah. So I know for a fact that at 6 miles, a car is too small for me to see. Yeah. And we're meant to believe that at 250 miles or even further, we can see. Now, a thing called the inverse square law, right? So the thing, every time you double the distance, it's small. So it's becoming like a speck moving at 19,000 or 20,000 miles an hour, and we're meant to be able to see these things? No. And
So-
and the people
so-
say, oh, there's a light on it or something. Like, no, they're not carrying a light on it. But what we do see evidence of is balloons falling into the jungle with a satellite device on it that's about half the size of a washing machine with
Yeah.
a solar array. And the balloon, the helium balloon, has popped and has come back to Earth. They've been doing that since the 1950s and 40s. It was, mainstream understanding is that in the 1940s, they could take a silver helium balloon, float it up to a position, and bounce signals off it. That's the very early in the satellite. I think that they can still do that. They can go up to 20 miles with one of these helium balloons. NASA buys the most helium at any organization in the world. They even own helium mines. They float them up every day. They're flying these things up from Sweden, from other places, and they catch the jet stream, or they get them to sit in what they call the geosynchronous, and they'll get them to sit there for a week, a month on a solar panel, and it's 20 miles. My cell tower or whatever this is can bounce a signal backwards and forwards. You can use it for bouncing signals. Doesn't need a in space, as they say.
If I went to an observatory and I looked through, like a big ass telescope, that I wouldn't see a satellite in space.
Other planets.
Okay,
Not
I'll
fully
answer those questions.
Okay.
One, I think that I'd be surprised. It'd be interesting to see what you see in terms of satellites. Yeah, what I know for sure with the telescopes is that they are using software to render the data. So when you look at the very expensive ones, they generally will take the imagery that they're getting and smooth it out and turn it into something that's recognizably Mars. But when we take the most powerful camera that you can buy, which is called the Nikon P1000, and we zoom in, it's like 135 times zoom, right? And we zoom in on these things, and you find that the stars are flickering like this. There are lights in the sky, twinkle, twinkle, little star, and they all have their own unique vibration or pattern and color, each of them their own. They're not all coming through as white lights. You're like, oh, that one's this different kind of shift to it. Then we study cymatics and we find that, wow, is this a tone in a liquid that's creating this vibration, like they do with the star in a jar experiment, which is where they take a liquid in a lab, or a frequency into it, and boom, they get an implosion causing this star. And when you look at your swim, which you probably had in South Africa, on a sunny day, the dappled water will make this repeating pattern on the bottom of the pool, right? This is what we're seeing. And when God did the waters from the waters, we then started thinking, what if there's a frequency or a tone in the sky right now that's creating the mightiest Venus, Jupiter. So we see lights in your intention teaches you to see balls of gas. Don't float in my reality.
Okay.
Balls of gas do not coexist in my reality.
Okay.
If I drop a ball of gas, and I don't want to be rude, but if I drop a ball of gas, it's going to fill space.
Yeah, so you're seeing the frequency of that is creating something.
Well, I can't see the frequency, but I can see the result of the frequency, which is that pattern. And when we look at cymatics, when they shake the plate with different frequencies, we're like, whoa, look at that. That reminds me of what I see when I look at Saturn or something like that. It's like, well, that's a similar vibration.
I mean, Venus creates the flower of life.
And that only happens on flat Earth. My life in astrology, the retrograding that on the globe. And Mercury and Venus, both of them, and that flower of life that you real, but it's happening over your space, over you.
Do you know what? I'm very open-minded. I don't know anything.
You know lots, but it's good to keep an open mind. But
I
had my near-death experience, and I started this in 2015, I was like, I know nothing. I have to learn everything over again.
Can I ask then? So, okay, let's throw all the propaganda out the window. Everything we've been told, like, I don't know anything. Okay, so how do you get from that? Okay, so you could dismiss, so you could say, okay, the Earth's not round, and it's not a sphere, and we're not floating around, okay, that's fine. So, like, how do you get from that to the Earth's flat? And also, what does it mean to say the Earth's flat? Because obviously here, because like, you're not saying it's flat as in there's no such thing as a hill.
Obviously.
So what exactly does it mean to say that? And then the other question is if it's flat, does that mean it extends infinitely in every direction?
Well, that last one I can't answer. It may do. I mean, in the mainstream science, they say that the is flat. It's extremely far. All these flat. If you go and look at there's loads of mainstream science that says, this is essentially like a flat thing, right? But in terms of the size of it, we do speculate that the Antarctic Treaty, which was signed in 1958, was designed to stop us because technology. We were getting boats and planes and things that would allow us to travel further. They locked it down after the found land that no man has ever seen before.
Yeah.
He'd had 10 years and 5,000 soldiers and planes and ships and you name it. And he comes back and says, I've found resources that will last mankind a lifetime. And the next year, America, China, they all lock it down and say anyone who goes beyond the 60th parallel needs permission, 70th parallel military only, or you'll be on. That's it. You do not get to take your plane, no matter how wealthy you are, and go, look, I'm going to fly 5,000 miles in that direction, see if I come out the other side. By the way, we've never come out the other side. We've never flown in one end and come out at the other side. But I want to come back to your question. What was before?
What does it mean to say that?
Okay, so obviously we understand that it's a topographical. So we have a sea level in England. It's defined by Newland sea level, which was a mean sea level taken between 1905 and 1908, something like that, down in Newland in Cornwall. So all of our sea levels are based on one mean sea level. But if you start at the east coast of England and travel over the Indus and go to Wales, you'll go up 300 or 400 meters from a sea level, and then you'll go down 300 or 400 meters to another sea level. After England is small. But you can do exactly as America. America is not, you've 2,000 miles across from California to New York, and that's on a flat baseline. Now, 3,000 miles on a 24,000 mile circumference globe is about 1/8 of the globe. So if I took 1/8 of your wall clock, I cut out 1/8 of the see the end on that. No matter how big small the wall clock is, you would see 1/8 as a, like, well, that's a part of a circle. That is, I could tell that from. Yeah. So the reason we say flat is because that we were sort of given when we first started looking into this. There is a controlled Earth society, but the ocean is flat. So the ocean across, we have one. We've got Atlantic, Pacific, there, connected body of water. That's a matter of Google that.
It's separated.
We might debate the whole what the plate thing is, and that was it all one landmass that moved apart, or what if as a child you probably would have done? Say you've got
I think that's so nicely.
And she started looking at this from perspective. It's so much more personal.
It makes more like sense in a visual type of way. Yeah.
Because even the logical art that you use is like a disc.
Yeah.
So
you can
traveling around that disc, but never over. But what we say that there is one sea level really. In fact, the USGS government survey admits that there is a 9-inch difference between Pacific and Atlantic, and you've got 3,000 miles between you, right? When you take a barge, a barge, say up in the Mendips, that's going to go down to Wales, is going to have to go through parallel water on locks, going to stay in front of it until it eventually gets to sea level. It's not got anything to do with curvature. So the flat Earth is like, imagine if I took an orange and cut it through its equator, and I opened that orange up, and now I've got the 12 segments of my orange, right? The zodiac segments. Yeah, and I've got a seed at the center, which is you being at the core of everything, and you've got the micro and macro. So the same is true with the Earth as it is with you. Heart is the center. Heart is an anagram for Earth. Yeah. It's a green chakra. So it's telling us this is the center. Above here you got blue and purple, just like you have up in the sky. Below you have red, magma, all the dark energies, all the heavy hot and the steadiness or the sturdiness that you get from Earth versus brick, and so on. So this is you are the micro of the macro, and if the seed at the center of my orange, my example, the seed at the center is you, then around you is water, the light water and the heavy water beneath sea level.
If the other planets are just a resonance of that frequency as well, then how do we know that this is not as well?
It is. This is all frequency.
So why not call it holographic Earth rather than flat Earth?
I like that.
Yeah.
I actually call it, I've got a flyer here that says, electromagnetic Earth, because
Yeah.
I believe that it's an electromagnetic system.
Yeah.
The flat Earth is like a gateway into realizing that, hang on,
Yeah,
religion,
Yeah.
schooling, all of these things have been sort of created to hide
You
who we
reach
are.
more opposition when you
Say flat Earth.
What do you mean?
Pisses people off because we've been young. When you were 6, 7 years old, you went to Southern school, I suppose. I was taught that, ancient people thought that the earth was flat, but obviously it's not, because ships can fall off the edge. That's it. That's all we're taught about it. And it's been weaponized in people's minds such that it creates like an anger. And I have thought of, some people say true earth, and as I say in my bio, I talk about electromagnetic earth, but you see, electromagnetic earth, now in this conversation with you, I can broach things that deep. This is more to get people thinking.
it's clickbait.
asking
What the fuck is this?
questions. Yeah.
What is he doing? Yeah, what is he doing? But the idea that because ancient cultures thought that the earth was flat, Mayans, Incas, Egyptians, all of the ancient cultures said that. But it's not the idea that it's a pizza disc, like in a vacuum of space with other.
It's very literal.
Thing is not. That's not really at all where we're at with that.
Well, I think the main problem with the scientific model is that consciousness is a fundamental substrate of everything that is. So the problem is that looking at.
That's good.
So the problem is people are looking at all these forces, like space. Space, gravity, all the forces and stuff, but actually consciousness is the fundamental substrate. So science is never gonna solve what it's trying to solve until that's understood. And so
let me puncture your bubble just a little bit. With COVID, I don't know if you remember with everything.
Oh, no, we didn't get one single.
Right, good. So, but many good doctors truly believe that taking the needle is the best thing for you, right? And even today, some still believe that, right? So the problem I'm trying to highlight here is that the science can be controlled, because they will only fund medicine that suits their agenda. That's why with cannabis and cancer, for example, they will never fund that stuff. They will never allow people to look at that possibility. It's got to be through the chemo.
Well, I mean, even like you were mentioning about the vitamin K shot and all of that. I mean, they tell pregnant women, children not to have mercury, and yet they're putting mercury in all the vaccines.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
Well, I mean, that really points to the fact that it's mentality over. Because whatever the agenda is in, in their mind, that's what's really happening.
Yeah.
So actually, it's the mentality.
Yeah.
It's not it's not like objective science. It's that's that's the mindset, and that's
if
that's.
I can shape that, talking about religion, in Africa, there's a lot of Christians who still do genital mutilation on women, right? So that's a terrible thing. But if I, at a young age, have told this little girl that this is what's going to happen and this is what you have to do, when she's 80 years old, she's standing over the other tiny babies and doing the same horrible thing to them. So the power of mind control cannot be understated. And the fact that the government has had your mind since you were younger than 5, because you were watching CBBS or whatever the bullshit TV is that they're indoctrinating with, right? And they're reinforcing, look, even with cartoons, like, someone's in Disney was working with the people at Jack Parsons Laboratories, the NASA forerunner, right? They were working together, and so what were they doing working together? But they were creating this children's sort of version of space so that you would believe it. And then they put you through school, and they reinforce this message through school, and all of the authorities, the King and the BBC and all of these things just went along with that same narrative, believing it or otherwise. They went along with it, and so eventually you live in a suit that says, yep, you're 15, 20, you're 6-year-old, 5-year-old girl now, I have to do this thing to your, and it's terrible. But that's how we are all so brainwashed into that.
I think people are just not open enough to challenge their own perceptions, first of all, because, like you said, when something becomes so, repetitively okay. You've become comfortable with those kind of things, and you know that. So like not just by using the word conditioning, but just by saying, you know, the more comfortable you are with something, the more you know it to be true. And I mean, I know all of this about Disney and all this. I love it. I can observe it, knowing my own truth, and not feel affected by it.
Good. Well, that's a
You know,
good baseline.
So, and I think it's important that we challenge people's perceptions, but if God were, and I know you have some reservations as to what you know, whether God would be a good thing or not.
I have no reservation. I think God is love.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely.
So, well, this is the point then. So, if God is truly the answer, and if love is truly the answer, then we are meant to come to it in our own, you know.
Yes, I agree with you, because you are meant to be master of your own ship. However, if you do not know that your ship is carrying a barnacle or a dent that I put in there when you came out of the dry dock, you're always going to be sailing off course. And so just like the example that Jesus is said to have given, which is he came into the churches and said, listen, these people are deceiving you. They are deceiving you, the bankers and the Sanhedrin or whatever, they are deceiving you. Well, I think that he shows the example, because evil prospers when good men say nothing or do nothing. And so for me, this is my tiny little bit of coming out and saying something and saying, listen, townsfolk, you are being misled, and it matters that you know this, because they wouldn't be bothering to mislead you if they didn't have their hooks in you and it wasn't going to be to their benefit.
Do you think if somebody had said it to you when you just signed, or when you just started your conscription, and you just started?
No, I would have gone along. I couldn't hear.
But
I wouldn't have heard. I wasn't for war. I wasn't for necessarily going to the army. I didn't care for that really. But it was part of my responsibility to my country. You know. So I kind of did it for that reason rather than, you know. But try and tell me. I guess try and talk me out of it. I don't think I would have had the ears to hear it. You know, I needed, even when someone told me about 9/11, and about 20 years ago, someone said 9/11 isn't what they tell you, right? I wasn't ready to hear that. It was many years later when someone else said to me, I was like, oh, hang on a minute. Now I need to go and look at that.
It's important what you're doing here, because we need this. We need to be presented with everything. But I think you have to trust in the natural evolution of people coming to their own truth.
I'm good with that. And you know, I've been doing the street activism for 8 years now. So I went out originally thinking, in 2016, in fact, I started talking to friends about it, and I thought it would be months and the whole world would be flat, you know. But clearly, I learned that lesson the hard way, that everybody is on their own timeline. But by coming out, I get to meet people like yourselves and have conversations where it's like affirming that, you know, we are meant to kind of be in this together. You know, one of the most demonizing elements of COVID lockdown was that they separated people from each other. And when you study how communism was, separate people from each other.
And now we're married. We have a goal.
Like illegally, like I was going over to her illegally, like,
I've got to get out of the rain right now.
Can we help you?
No, I'm going to leave the banners here in case it stops. I'm just going to go to the shade, the shelter. But yeah, wow, it's really raining. Oh my. You guys met during lockdown. That's over here. Over here. Are you both from Glastonbury, or you both local, or you travelling in for the day?
We live in street now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just down the road.
I work at Crystals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My little boy loves crystals. You know, he's 8 years old, never vaccinated, no birth certificate, all of that stuff. You know, me by the time.
We don't want to live for much longer, but you know, passports and.
Well, you have a passport.
If
You don't
he,
need a birth certificate.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I heard that.
It's not a form of ID.
Yeah, do you know what? Because I heard
My
that.
little boy's been to South Africa. My little boy's been to Europe. We travel.
So you can get a passport.
He had a passport within 6 months. We had a passport for him, but
How
we
did
had to
you
write
apply for
3
it?
letters. That's right, 3, because the registry office need to have proof that he is alive, but there's no record of him on the system. And once we had that, we sent that off and had his passport immediately.
So how did you get record of him being?
Well, because the doctor in this country signed off that there was a live birth.
Okay.
And the parents
Okay.
put a thumbprint down to sign that
Yeah.
they evidenced the live birth. Me and my wife.
Yeah.
And there was one month that he did take him to GP. He was on, like there was proof of him being alive.
Yeah.
I wish he hadn't have done that, even that, because he's never been to a doctor.
Yeah.
He's 8 years old, he's never sick.
Yeah.
Well,
We don't need to do that,
No.
basically.
you don't need a birth
I didn't
certificate.
know how
Birth certificate is
to.
optional, and you know what it is in the name of informant, right? Where you put your name, it says name of informant.
Yeah.
Because you are handing over ownership of your child, essentially, to the state. I'll say two things on that. One is, one problem I had was that I wanted to get a South African passport for him, and without a
Okay.
birth certificate, I haven't been able to find out how I can do that without a birth certificate.
Oh, okay.
It's probably the same bollocks as we had here.
If you have you got a South African passport
Yeah.
still? Okay, so then can you?
Eventually,
If your passport now.
I did. So we decided to get married so I could sign up for the not British. I have a British passport already, but he can apply for an Irish passport,
okay.
which
That's a bonus.
opens a couple more doors. Yeah. So that's why because our actual wedding was different, and then we just went to the office on the day.
Yeah, and actually, the legal marriage is never bound to the state. Then you know what I mean? Like if you make a
That's just the
commitment to each
paper
other-
that opens the doors for us.
Yeah. But
But does the this is what I'm saying. Does the marriage registration actually, like, what does it actually let you do?
birth certificate?
No. The marriage registration form.
it's
What does that actually do?
Nothing really. I mean, what the government can do is they can screw you down, later down the line. Kind of involvement in the what I wanted to say about the child is that the state in this country are looking to kind of cut down or restrict people to school or limit it.
Okay, because our child isn't going to school.
Yeah, so I see it happening more and more where they mention that even though the child can be homeschooled, that there is a relationship with an education department officer who has some sort of say way over you
What is
proving
taught.
that given or there's a blah blah blah, which of course is a load of bollocks anyway. So that would be the one thing I'd say, the advantage of not having a birth certificate.
Yeah, but I want to start.
Same as when I got raided by police some years ago. They were saying we have no legal joinder on this child. My older child, joinder on him, went to school sort of by my house, but with the baby, they don't actually have a legal standing. Now I can create that if I, obviously, as I said before, look, if your neighbours are saying this child is hurt, I can understand why you would then insist on having some kind of relation, but you don't have a joinder without a birth certificate. The birth certificate is handing over, it's like registering your car.
Yeah.
Once you register your car, it's owned by the state. You just be the keeper. And that's why they tell you to MOT it and blah, 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 and all these things, because they actually own it. Register means to give to the king or regis. So that's why you don't need to, I would say, do that. They have said, look, when they finally send us a letter saying, oh, look, okay, you don't have to get a birth certificate, but your child may have trouble to school. Like, that's not a problem. But they also say, if at any time in the child's life, he or you decide that you would like to have a registration, then feel free to make an appointment and come and see us. So they're gagging for us to come and register the child, but they can't force you.
It's the same because
They're frightened.
I have been going to like midwife appointments and everything, and my midwife
You're
appointments,
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm 23 weeks now.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But my midwife was saying to me, you need to get the whooping cough vaccine. I was like, no, I think I'm okay. No, thank you. And then she said, well, I don't mean to scare you, but a baby did die last year. And I was, well, you know, if you thought this was really good for me, you wouldn't be trying to fear me into getting it.
Fear for that,
Yeah.
And one child out of a million,
How many children?
are born every year.
Yeah.
So it's maybe 500,000 are born every year.
Yeah.
But it's the same tactics they use with COVID, right? They're going to frighten you, so granny is going to all this sort of stuff. No, I by the way, I just you know, the sciatic nerve. So the moment you were born, they send a shock up your sciatic nerve to your groin. This is your seat. You know, the elephant